There's a natural there's a rhythm you got to get into introducing the show. You don't realize it until you have to do it. It's like things coming down and go, what up, though? Wake Up Woodward. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We have a legend coming up. If you could hit the like button, not only for us, but for the legend Rod Beard, who will be joining the show here right about now. Kool-Aid, you want to introduce Rod?
Hey, there he goes, man. You know what, Rod, one of the best people that I know. Hey, look, man, I'm a little bit under the weather right now, man. This Michigan weather,
I can tell.
The window open. I didn't get a lot of sleep with the newborn at home. Woke up like, oh man, this is gonna be tough. But you know what? We got Rod on. This is the best part about having the starting five that we do here at Wake Up Woodward. But hey, Rod, I don't know if you got a chance to see it. Definitely look at it later. We got a nice picture of you up on our back wall as well, repping you from your Michigan when you covered Michigan basketball.
I was gonna say that picture has to be 10 years old at least.
Legend, man.
And is that
Legend.
Ice Cube on the shirt? We got Ice Cube today?
Call it out.
Yeah.
That is dope boy.
Today was a good day.
Yes, sir.
It
yes,
is
sir.
always a good day when we get Rod on the phone.
Yeah,
or
and
on
you know
camera,
what?
I should say.
We're gonna mash the two segments in together. So we're going all the way around the city, and we'll end with Woodward Pistons. So that means we got to get the drum roll going. I'm gonna need your help, bro.
I got you.
I'm gonna need your help. Let's go. Hey, yo! Shout out to the legend, Detroit News, Rod Beard. Bro, how are you doing today?
I am outstanding. It is an outstanding day, and congratulations on the newborn. That is my thought of the day. Let's throw the sports stuff to the side. Unless just go, we got a future hooper, then we can talk about it then. But just it's such exciting news, and I know how this road to getting here has been for you guys. So just congratulations and blessings to you and your family. It's just another wonderful addition.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man, so much. I mean, like I tell you guys all the time, Rod is a great person. I like the fact that we work with a lot of good people, man, in this industry as well. We actually, on the back wall, we got Detroit News on Detroit Sports. We want to make sure that you guys do understand that Mr. Rod Beard is the sports editor-in-chief at the Detroit News. He brings his perspective weekly from what his beat is kind of feeling about the Tigers, the Red Wings, the Lions, and the Detroit Pistons.
He's got an incredible staff. I've gotten to know at least a little bit some of his team over at the Detroit News that cover the Lions. Hopefully get to know them covering the Tigers too. But Rod, I got to ask, we were just finishing a segment about the Lions before we get to Pistons and Red Wings and Tigers. There were some comments made by Colin Cowherd of FS1 saying the Lions just need to keep this alpha, this aggressiveness mentality, but Dan Campbell can't be as reckless. So you know some of the calls he made throughout the season and specifically in the NFC Championship game. Do you consider those reckless? Do you think he needs to step his game up or mature as a coach as significantly as it sounded Colin Cowherd was insinuating?
You find your level in that sort of stuff, and I don't think it's reckless because why do you choose to go for it on 4th and 7? Because you can make it. If you didn't think you could make it, you wouldn't decide to go for it. So that says more about where this team is and the steps that they've made forward, that you even have the option, not even the option, but a coach who's confident enough to go for it, because this wouldn't have happened under any of the previous coaches. But this is where football is now. You're going to see more coaches playing the analytics, playing the numbers and saying, hey, if we make that 4th and 7, then we're good. And fans who complain about it, they're not complaining when he makes a 4th and 3 or a 4th and 2 and in a tough spot on his side of the field. So you can't complain when he doesn't make it, because that's just the coin flip. It's a 52 or 55% chance. You know what? It's going to be the other 45 or 48% sometimes too.
I like the way you described it, and it's true. If Josh Reynolds catches that ball, we're not talking about it either. So it's just how things played out. Speaking of how things played out, we didn't have you on last Wednesday, and since then, the NFL free agency has kind of taken over, and the Lions started what some people thought as slow or flew under the radar, but just recently have made some acquisitions via trade and free agency, like DJ Reader, defensive tackle, like guard Kevin Zeitler. We got cornerback Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson. How do you feel about some of these free agent moves, Rod?
I'm not going to say they won free agency, because you kind of gauge that differently, but I think they checked the boxes of things that they wanted to do. They did their Christmas shopping and got all the stuff done. And now you can kind of rest, and you don't have to go into the draft feeling like you have to do certain things. You don't have to target a cornerback. You don't have to target an edge rusher. You can look and see what the board looks like, and the best player that's there, you just create more depth. You can get a receiver if you really wanted to. And so all of the Kool-Aid McKinstry talk, you don't have to buy into that. You don't have to trade up. And so I think this is where Brad Holmes is going to be at his best, is let me not target position, let me target player. And if somebody even drops into the low teens, then you feel like, okay, maybe he can trade up and get something get a player who's going to be a difference maker there without having to mortgage the farm in order to do it. But then you don't feel the pressure to have to. When was the last time the Lions went into a draft where they didn't feel like they had to do something? We have to get an impact player here. It's been a while. I can't think of the last time that there just wasn't this, oh my goodness, what are they going to do? They got to fix this. They got to fix that. There's no glaring need that you say they have to do this position. I think that's a credit to Holmes and the rest of his staff and the way that they built this team. Is now you can draft for depth, and now you can draft for something that you want instead of you need.
Man, that's insightful. And just kind of shifting gears a little bit, I want to ask you a Tigers question before we get into Pistons in a little bit. With the Detroit Tigers, what is the feel around the Detroit news, especially from some of your beat writers, about the expectations and how they're feeling about the squad as they kind of, obviously you only put so much on spring training, but what is it that's exciting them right now about this team?
I think it's the youth and the meshing of that youth. And Lynn Henning had a column for us last week saying he's projecting 85 wins. And I think that's about right. You'd love to see a little bit more than that. But they're not, in his mind, they're not going to win the division, but they'll be right there in the discussion at 85 wins. This isn't a strong division, not as strong, top-heavy as it's been in previous years. So I think the Tigers will have a shot, but you need a lot of things to go right. You want to see the young pitchers really start to come into their own. You want to see Flaherty. You want to see Maeda really jump in and take hold in their first years with the team. Sometimes that's hard to do. You don't really understand the culture and everything else that's there and the rhythm. But if you can start hitting the ball a little bit early and get some effective pitching, you have a shot early in the season. And that's been their bugaboo. It's just you got to start out at least decent, 500. You can't have these 3-17 sort of starts. You got to jump out the box really quick and let the rest of the division know, hey, you're right there. You're going to be there at the end of the year.
Absolutely. And Lynn Henning's a fantastic writer. Do you have an opinion on the last two starting rotation spots? It seems to be between Casey Mize, Matt Manning, and Reese Olson.
I definitely like Manning, and I would like to see Mize get there. I mean, you're battling injuries, and it's so much. You just want to see guys when they get to that level have a good shot and a good opportunity and be healthy. So I think Olsen can be there for depth, and as they start to stretch some of these younger guys out, the innings are going to be available for everybody to sort of pitch. This isn't just a solid 5-man rotation and that's it. I think they're going to move things around as the season progresses.
Love to hear it. The other team, before we get to the Pistons, the other team that shares LCA, they had a huge win last night. Patrick Kane wins it in overtime versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. Lucas Raymond had a big day. This was the first game called up for Simon Edvinsson. Do you think a game like this can recalibrate the Detroit Red Wings on an upward trajectory headed to a playoff berth?
Imagine if you had turned that game off in the third period. Just kind of, you know what? Forget this game. I'm going to bed. You missed out on a doozy. So I think it can be transformative. It can give you that boost. But they've got to do something to get out of this skid that they were on. And this can energize you for a couple of games, but that Islanders game coming up, that's going to be a big one in terms of the standings. You got to win these key games with these other teams that are in the wild card hunt with you.
Yep. Man, I'm hoping that the Red Wings can definitely find that stride again, especially when they get Dylan Larkin back.
Oh, yeah.
They got Edmund coming up as well from Grand Rapids.
Edmund season, the kids are saying on Twitter.
Hey, let's rock, man. Hopefully it helps to improve the defense in some substantial way, and that the goalies can get hot as this season kind of winds down for the Red Wings. But the Detroit Pistons, man. One thing that happened, and we got boots on the ground in the Miami Heat game. That was a heartbreak of a loss. I don't even want to recap that game, man. But the 2004 Detroit Pistons were honored. A lot of them were in the building, as well as people like Arnie Kander, The trainers, some of the front office execs as well. And it was just an overall good feeling, man. I just wanted your take on those 2004 Detroit Pistons and the way that the Detroit Pistons kind of honored them.
Class. I mean, that squad embodies kind of what we think of a championship caliber team is. And we think of Isaiah, we think of Lambeer and the Bad Boys, but that team, for whatever reason, just kind of the grit and what this city is it's not about the stars. It is really about the guys who are just going to work in the hard hats. And you see Rip, you see Ben, you feel like, man, we need a couple of guys like that on this team to really capture the imagination of the city again. But it's always good seeing Chauncey that we see him a little bit more now in his coaching role, but just what he brings in the leadership. And it's not this kind of demanding leadership. It's just, give me the ball, jump on my back, and we're going to go. So it's always good for this squad to see what that 04 Pistons team is like, and that you can be not a superstar. And that was a theme that they always hit on. You don't have to be a superstar. You just have stars who play to be the star in your role. And you can help a team elevate and be on a championship level. And that's what they did.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that the current squad, that they kind of heard and kind of felt the excitement, the exuberance for that 2004 squad, because every time they put them up on the Jumbotron, especially during the halftime, where they're able to kind of see this stuff, I'm hoping that they understand exactly that Detroit fans are ready to absolutely support them the way that they supported the previous winners. So, but one thing that's on the way, fast approaching, is kind of going to be our playoffs, is really the draft. And there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of people on both sides of this thing right now in terms of what to do with that draft pick. I've been on record as saying I kind of want to see the Detroit Pistons, I want to see them trade that pick and accelerate this rebuild just a little bit. But I've also heard some arguments where some people believe that there are players right now in this draft that can help to move this thing forward and help as it relates from a contract wise standpoint to have this type of player on a rookie contract scale deal, and it will allow the Detroit Pistons to maybe part with somebody else that's currently a part of their young core. Is Alex Sarr, in your opinion, the France star overseas who's about 7'1", he's shown that he can shoot the three, but he's only shooting about 28 to 30% from three. But his defense is exactly what I believe the Detroit Pistons are missing in the middle of that paint. Is he somebody that you think is worth taking with that number one draft pick, even though he and Jalen Duren might not necessarily mesh?
No.
Ooh.
No, I don't want it. No. Unlike.
Stay out.
Unlike. I don't want it. I don't even want to go down that road. If you can trade the pick, and here's the hard part. If you're going to trade that pick, it has to be somebody who can be a difference maker. You've got to really fleece somebody and get an all-star caliber, maybe not an all-star, but all-star caliber player in, so that when you go to free agency, you can say, hey, we got this guy. If I'm a free agent and you come to the table, or you call me and you say, hey, we got Alex Sarr. So that doesn't move the needle and make me as a free agent want to come there. You tell me you went out and got I'll say DeMar DeRozan. I'll just throw a name out. DeMar DeRozan. You tell me you went and got him. Right. So as a free agent, now I want to come and play with DeMar DeRozan. I don't want to come and play with Sarr. There's nothing in there that says I want to come and play with Sarr. But so you have to build a brand. You have to say, hey, we hooping. Okay, if you come in the gym, who's got next? Okay, who you got? I got this dude and this dude. Oh, okay, now I want to run on that team. Everybody's been in that situation. But if it's Alex Sarr, it's just kind of like, okay, well, I mean, it's another rookie, another young guy.
And
the thing that this team needs is veteran guys and proven guys who can come in and need another opportunity to make this work.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people, they got some concerns, especially with some of the foreign players, of how quickly are they going to acclimate to the NBA game even. Not that they're not going to eventually figure it out, but how quickly is it going to happen? And for us here in Detroit, it's been a mixed bag. I'm not going to say that, just because Killian Hayes was here, don't take a chance on a foreign player, because you got guys like Carlos Delfino and Mehmet Okur who absolutely were vital and instrumental to the 2004 Pistons winning the championship. They played some pretty decent roles for them. But I agree with you completely, especially when you see some of these potential free agents and some of the teams that are potentially looking to break things down and trade off some of their higher-priced players. I do believe that the Pistons are primed in a position to move this thing, accelerate this thing.
Please.
By next season. They have to. They have to. Detroit fans are supporting. Like I said, over the last 3 years, they continue to be ranked between the top 12 and top 19 in home game attendance. Like, Detroit fans, they've done their job. They've continued to show up. There might be some games where it's light, but you were there. You were there on Sunday. We had boots on the ground. It was an epic environment, man. Absolutely. And it's like, it's time. It is time.
Memo said it best in 2004. It's time.
It's time. Look, all three of the other teams, we see them kind of moving with the Tigers, the Red Wings, and the Lions, with now sprinkling around their young players, kind of some of these right veteran players. It's time for the Detroit Pistons, in my opinion, to do the same. Whether you have faith or belief in Monty Williams, whether you have faith or belief in Troy Weaver, the game plan and my hope is that it starts to shift towards what Troy Weaver said they would do 7 days before this past free agency, and that's coming up this offseason. It's now time to move this thing into high gear, get in the right vets here on this squad that can absolutely mesh with what Monty Williams is trying to do. And you know what? I'm going to tell people, like, we've heard names like Tobias Harris. The Bulls have said that Zach LaVine is going to be on the trading blocks as well. And you know what? At this point in time, I wouldn't even be
Brandon Ingram, bring him home.
You know what? If they could find somebody to get an Ingram, my goodness, make that happen. Because you're hearing rumors that the Pelicans might try and break this thing down. And it was cool to see Monty Williams get the name drop of Willie Green, talking about learning of this Detroit culture even before he got here. And DeMar DeRozan, another player that we know has connections to the organization through Dwayne Casey. The Pistons have to do something. There will be options. And I'm with you, man. I like Sarr, but not at this current time for where this team is at.
Right, and you got to look at teams that sort of flame out in the playoffs. Those are going to be the first ones that you want to pick at, and people who might just say, hey, this is the last run we've got with this group, and then we'll blow it up if we need to. So that sort of thing, I don't know if you can go with LaVine. Now you're saying another injury and catastrophic. Is he coming off of this one too? How effective can he be for that price tag that you're looking at? That's going to be the big question there.
Yep.
All right, Rod, to maybe close this out, I know we got to let you go here shortly. If you can give us 180 more seconds, I got 3 of our toughest trivia questions that we were asking some of the fans about that 2004 team. I'm just curious to see if you know the answer to some of these. Do you mind if I ask you these 3 trivia questions real quick?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right. Let's go.
All right, in chat, get your answers in. We're going to fire through these, but get them in the chat. So, Rod, in the 2003 NBA draft, the year before they won the championship, the Pistons famously selected Darko Milicic with the number 2 pick. However, the Pistons had a second pick in the first round that year. Who did they select?
Oh, crap. I know this. Oh.
And I can slowly give a few hits that I don't think will give it away, but
hit number 1.
All right. It was pick 25, and he was a guard.
No, I know it's a guard.
A foreign player.
Hint number 3. I might have mentioned his name a little bit earlier.
I was going to say Carlos Delfino.
Delfino, baby.
Yeah. That was the first one, but it just – all right.
It's tricky. I always think of Darko for that draft. I forget Carlos Delfino was a first-round pick that year. Who knew? Okay,
yeah,
number 2.
I might do the physical challenge on number 2.
Here we go. In Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semis versus the Nets, the Pistons would hold Nets star point guard Jason Kidd to how many points? Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semis. And they won, I believe it was 97 or 99 to 69. They held the Nets to 69 points, under 70 once again that season.
4 points for Jason Kidd.
I got to say, that is the closest guess.
Yeah.
It was 0. 0 points, Game 7 of that Eastern Conference semis. Crazy.
A lot of the fans that we asked at LCA on Sunday, they all were saying 15 or 12. 0 points. Man, that defense was
Jason
real.
Kidd. If you hold Jason Kidd to anything, it's going to be a single-digit number. But I thought it was something really small. And they only scored like 70.
12 or 15 assists that game. That man could pass the ball.
Yeah,
All right.
probably.
Last question for you. How old was current Piston Jalen Duren when the 2004 team won the NBA championship on June 15th, 2004?
He was not born.
He was born. I'll give you one more guess. He was not as close to being unborn as being born, but right in between there. It's months.
Like one?
I am going to say 8 months.
Almost. Again, the closest guess.
Yeah,
it was 7. He was 7 months old. He was born November 18th, 2003.
Look, if we had to grade you on a curve, you definitely would have been the person with the highest grade.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll take that.
We'll take that one.
Awesome. Rod, thanks for participating in that and for everything you do for us. We love having you on here every Wednesday.
Anytime, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Have a good rest of your day. Be blessed. I got a salute to our chief, the sports editor-in-chief at the Detroit News. You guys, they do a lot of great work over there. Rod Beard gives his time for us every single week and his insight, and he brings a lot of wealth of knowledge from the rest of the beat at the Detroit News. Hey, shout out to my guy Mike Curtis as well. Detroit Pistons beat writer for the Detroit News. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Rod.
Get some sleep, man. You do that. Get some sleep.
I will. I definitely will. Thank you, man.
All right, guys.
Thank you. Oh, man, cool. That's one of my favorite segments each week. Having Rod on.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it,
He
man.
was close with those trivia questions, too. Those are the ones nobody got.
You know what? Rod Beard has been around just sports in this state for a very, very long time. So it's cool to be able to ask him those types of questions and kind of get his perspective and feel on it. And he's right. He was like one of the closest. Yeah. The fans were kind of all over the place Sunday, but you know what? We still had fun.
We still had a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Well, since it's hump day, it's a perfect day for a game. When we come back, we're going to be playing Peaks or Cheeks, getting back to NFC edition. We're talking NFL, reverting back. Peaks and Cheeks when we come back